On this week's show, the annual Schenkel Invitational gets underway at Forest Heights Country Club. We'll preview that. We'll also take you out for some Georgia Southern spring football. We also have baseball and basketball as well. All that and more as we welcome you inside the Eagles Nest. And welcome inside the Eagles Nest. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, sports last week, we had basketball, football, baseball, golf, softball, and now one's finished. The men's basketball team unfortunately went out in the semifinals to Georgia State, who ended up winning the Sun Belt Championship and then made the news this week with their coach and some quotes about their game with Cincinnati. First off, your thoughts on how the basketball season went and the tournament for the men.
Well, I think that overall, if you're Georgia Southern's basketball team, you have to look at it as a little bit of a disappointment. And granted, it's hard to say that you should expect to win the tournament when you haven't been there in 25, 26 years now. But this is a team that had been built to do it. It was a veteran team. These guys have been playing together for 2 and 3 and some even 4 years. So it hurts a little bit to fall short, especially with some seniors going out like Mike Hughes and Jake Allsmiller. The good news is plenty of talent comes back. They should be a threat to be right back in the weekend discussion of the conference tournament again next year, except it's going to be a little bit of a different look, maybe a little bit bigger team. We've got a few months to see how this team's going to shape up, but needless to say, this should be another Georgia Southern team that can compete for a Sun Belt title.
And they've got a lot of signees that are already making some pretty big splashes. I think one had 48 points in their state tournament game this past week. All right, we're moving on now to the football field where the Georgia Southern Eagles began spring practice this past week under the guidance of Chad Lunsford in his first, I guess, official capacity as the head coach on the field, along with the first time we got to see the Best as the offensive coordinator and Sloan as the defensive coordinator and Victor Cabral back there on the field. So a lot of new faces out there on the practice field and a new situation. How do you feel like things went? I guess we've only seen one official practice, but it looked like things were pretty exciting out there.
Well, spring practice and the first day of spring practice especially, you're going to get the same sound bites that you get from signing day, things like that. Everybody's going to be excited. Everybody's going to have a good first day and excited to be back out there, but you're not in full pads yet. You haven't hit yet. You haven't installed anything new yet. So it's all about just, I guess, the excitement level. And if there's one thing that this new coaching staff can do, it's sell the players, sell the fans, sell everybody on the energy that they're bringing into this program. And I think the players have bought in. We were talking a little bit before they hit the field. You could hear it throughout the football operations center. Everybody was excited to be there. They wanted to get back to work. Last year was a tough pill to swallow for Georgia Southern, but I think that the guys who are returning have put it behind them. They're ready to be the team that turns it around instead of the team that has to keep hearing about last season.
All right, and we had a chance to talk with Coach Lunsford and a few of the other coaches and some players about starting spring practice.
Biggest concern going in, I think, just probably making sure that we communicate as coaches, what the expectations are. Not just as far as production, scheme, more than anything else, how we're going to conduct ourselves, what's important as far as, giving the Eagles a chance to win. We're going to focus a lot on the plan to win, and for us in particular on offense. What that means is ball security and minimizing certainly pre-snap penalties. I tell the offenses all the time that if we can just get the play started, we'll have a chance. And so I would say as we start today, that's my main focus, is that they understand the importance of that. We've been very, very deliberate about how much we've talked X's and O's. We've talked a lot about habits, and we've talked a lot about mentality, and we've tried to practice that through the off season in the ways that we could. Today we'll go out and we'll see how we handle the snap count. Today we'll go out and see if we can get a snap. So it's really the basics, and I'm really not looking a whole lot past that, to be honest with you. If you're asking who's going to be in the first huddle taking the first snap, Shai will be. But absolutely it's a competition. And I can tell you this, that Coach Lunsford gathered all the quarterbacks up the other day and told them just that. Absolutely it's a competition. But I think I would also say that about every position. That's one of the fun things, I think. Certainly it's one of the fun things as a coach to come into a new situation. Everybody's got a clean slate. You know, I certainly have no preconceived notions about anybody positively or negatively. And so I would say that regardless of the position, obviously the quarterback's position is a focal point, but it's a competition without question. And Shai knows that.
Certainly this is a day we all been anticipating for a long time, since all getting the staff together and everything to finally get on the field and work with these guys. So I've had a great off season so far in the winter workouts down in the weight room. The morning competition stuff at 6 o'clock, and then of course once we finished up recruiting, we've been able to spend a little bit of time within the time rules that the NCAA allows, as far as some position meeting stuff, some early install, as well as a little bit of position work on the field. So just excited to get on the field and kind of see it all put together in 7-on-7, 11-on-11 type situations. I don't know that I have a concern, because right now I'm just focused on continuing to build on what we've got started downstairs in the weight room. I think these guys are very hungry. I think there's a anxiousness and eagerness that you can kind of sense. And so as I talked to the defensive staff this morning in our staff meeting, as we put our final prep on today's practice plan, was let's just continue to build on what we've got going right now. I feel like we've got them in a good place from what we've got going on in the weight room, and it's our job to build on it right now and take that momentum into spring practice. As I've addressed it with the defensive guys, what we start with today as far as who's a 1, who's a 2, who's a 3, that's mainly for organizational purposes. We've got to have a rhyme and reason to be able to be efficient and clean as far as the way we move from one team to the next on the practice field. But certainly as we get into the practices, whether it's 3 practices, 5 practices, 6 practices, we don't have a number set, but there will be jockeying, and that's when 3s become 2s or 1s become 3s. And it's a deal where I made it clear to them yesterday, every practice would be graded. We would put a production chart together defensively that charts all the positive plays they make, but then we'll also chart all the negative plays. And so to come out of a practice with 7 or 8 tackles, an interception, a caused fumble, whatever, but then you've got 3 mental errors, 2 loafs, and a poor technique, all those negatives are going to weigh against the positives. So holding them accountable for the negative plays as much as the positive plays, and that does create that competitiveness, that accountability of every practice does matter.
I think right now the biggest thing that we've got to make sure we do is just with a new offensive coordinator and new defensive coordinators, just making sure our guys are getting with the new systems, getting the terminology down right, and being ready to roll that way. As far as the effort, the work ethic, all that stuff that we've been preaching that since January, and I think the guys are ready for that. I think the biggest piece is just getting the new terminology down. Their mindset right now is probably through the roof. They're ready to hit the field. They're ready to hit the grass and, get out there and do what they came to do, and play football. And it's been a great, 8 weeks of training and getting their bodies ready and, in the last, couple weeks getting their minds ready for it. So I know there's a level of excitement for them to cross the bridge, hit it running, and get ready to go. I've hired a great coaching staff, and letting them do their jobs, and they've done. I mean, the great thing about our staff is, they've really bought into the Georgia Southern mantra, and they love being here, and it's not just something that they're looking at like, well, this is a stepping stone for another job. I mean, they're wanting to do a great job here. So, I think the biggest thing is, making sure I'm overseeing and making sure that we're going in the right direction, make sure our guys' minds are in the right, right frame of mind. But, letting good coaches do their thing.
Just know that we just got to just stay calm and don't get too overexcited. We know that it's just a regular day, regular practice for everybody. So we just ready to get out there and just go out there and show everybody what the new era is going to be like. Really excited. All this week we had Max Week. Everybody been real hyped up. Everybody just really excited just to go out there and show everybody the new era. The culture, it just seems different. Like everybody, there's no complaining amongst the players. Everybody just bought in and just ready. You know, we running 3-4 defense right now, so mainly the difference is just going to be like what players are in what position and everything like that, mainly with the front seven. But secondary, we pretty much got the same responsibilities, but we just making sure that we just don't have mental mistakes this year and stuff like that.
Yeah, new beginnings. Trying to put last year behind us and move on. Nobody expected us to go 2-10, so we just getting ready to, you know what I'm saying, get this new culture going that we got, change things around. It's so much more energy than we had last year, positive energy. And I'm pretty sure that's been the reason why things been going so smoothly for us. Coach the best. He's just trying to simplify things early on. We haven't got too far in the playbook, just enough for the first couple of days. So he's not trying to put too much on us too fast.
What do you expect out of the spring as far as how much of the offense you guys are expected to know?
That's really on him. I know he talked about just taking it slow, like I just said, and not trying to put too much on us. So we'll see how it goes.
And they'll be back on the field on the 18th. Of course, this week is spring break for Georgia Southern. Well, spring break typically also comes with the Schenkel Invitational taking place over at Forest Heights Country Club. Georgia Southern has won it over the past few years. They finished in the second last year, I believe.
Yep.
Individually, they've had a lot of guys vie for the individual title as well, and there's no reason to think they can't do it again this year as things get underway on Friday.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons to believe in this Eagles squad is that a lot of them were in the tournament field last year for Georgia Southern, and as you mentioned, finishing second against two top 5 teams that were in the field last season. They were leading them both going into the final day of competition. Just didn't have a bad Sunday, but a couple of highly ranked teams were just a little too much for them. But as you mentioned, Georgia Southern has proven that they can win this tournament. They know they've got the support of the fans. It's one of the highest attended tournaments anywhere in the country, so always a good time. It looks like, for the most part, we're going to have some good weather, and with the skill level of these Georgia Southern golfers, their knowledge of Forest Heights Country Club, I look for a few low scores and hopefully seeing Georgia Southern near the top of that leaderboard.
Yeah, Saturday's got a good chance for some rain, but again, hopefully some course knowledge. You got a couple guys there that played quite a bit. We had a chance to talk with head coach Carter Collins and some of the players about getting things teed up on Friday.
Team's been playing well. We've definitely got some momentum coming off our events from the spring, but overall throughout the year we've been building towards this, so we're really excited about this week.
How special is this tournament to you guys?
It means a lot. The way the community wraps their arms around this event, Chad Averett and the Schenkel Golf Committee do a wonderful job taking care of a lot of the nuts and bolts that come with this event, and helping me just kind of coach and worry about the team, and that's a big asset. But from a scheduling standpoint, you know, other teams love coming here, so we can reciprocate going to their events. But being able to play the best competition in the country at your home golf course is a treat that we don't take for granted, and we're ready for it. Steven's one of the hardest workers in the country. Wonderful young man. Very proud of everything he's been able to accomplish so far. But one of the things that's made him so special is his competitiveness, and that's what's driving him to look past the accolades that's being thrown at him right now. He's still looking for, you know, helping the team win championships week to week. And I think also from a team perspective, what he's done is help pull these other guys into a little bit of what he's doing. And they're watching what he's doing. They're trying to work just as hard. But we've got Jake Story, who's been playing at an extremely high level all year. Archer Price been playing at extremely high level all year. Brett Barron's been very consistent. And we've got a ton of guys on this team that can play. So Steven has been a big piece of it, but we're looking forward from a team perspective putting it all together this week.
Favorite week of the year. The community comes out and supports us. Honestly, it is unlike any other golf tournament in the country, and we just love it, and we try to embrace it as best we can. It's different here because everybody's rooting for us, but got to try and stay focused as much as you can as soon as you get to your ball and get to your shot. But it's interesting, it's different. You go some other places and people in the crowd aren't necessarily pulling for you, but they're just pulling for somebody else. But this week is something special, and hopefully we can give everybody what they want to see.
I probably have played more rounds out here than anybody, but at the same time, all the players here are great. It's a great course, and just looking to maybe use some of that experience to help me out, but other than that, just kind of treat it like another round of golf.
How neat is it for you to be in the starting lineup at a tournament that you've seen for years.
Yeah, it is awesome. It's absolutely a blessing to be in the starting 5 this week. And, you know, not that long ago, I was one of those kids, not in the clinic, but at that age, and watching these guys play and looked up to them like they were Tiger Woods, and to actually be in the starting 5 here means a lot.
All right, Mike, and wrapping things up, the Georgia Southern baseball team in action this week. They had a midweek game at Mercer where they fell. They finally got the bats going, but this time they couldn't get the pitching going. And now this weekend they open up Sunbelt play at home against Louisiana.
Yeah, things seem to be going well for the Eagles in the midweek. They got 3 home runs early in the game, 2 home runs, one by Matt Anderson, one by Stephen Curry, their first career home runs as Georgia Southern Eagles. But it wasn't enough. Once again, the bullpen comes in and throws gas on the fire, really, and walks continue to be an issue, giving up some clutch hits with those walks on base. It just exasperates the problem, and, you know, the bats are working, but when you give up 11, it's really tough ask to tell your team that's still full of new players and freshmen to go out there and get 12, and things don't get any easier this weekend. You've got Louisiana, who for a few years was the cream of the crop in the Sun Belt. Maybe a small step back last season, but they're predicted to be just as good, if not better, this time around. So definitely no time to sit around and lick the wounds for the Eagles. They've got to get right into it. You've got a home series. It'd be great to get at least 2. A sweep's a tough ask against Louisiana, but it's your home turf. You've got to defend it. Nothing's going to get it easier in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, again, everything's getting underway on Friday. Hopefully they can get the Saturday game in, and then Sunday's afternoon game will wrap up the series. All right, well, that'll wrap things up for now. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.